Right, how are we doing? Continuing on from our last presentation on Strand 2 on global citizenship and development for second years. These slides are all about the sustainable development goals we spoke of. So questions are back on the last presentation, the self-test. So there won't be one at the end of this one because it ties into the last one. And then after this, we're going to do a presentation on poverty, and then that'll be that. So without further ado, then we'll have a look at this presentation. So from the beginning. Okay, so Strand 2, Global Citizenship, Sustainable Development Goals, or SDGs, yeah. So the Sustainable Development Goals, to give you a bit of context or background on it. First, there were the Millennium Development Goals, and that's, in other words, what they were called before they were called the Sustainable Development Goals, and they changed in 2015. The MDGs are in place to try and solve the world's problems. Okay, so you had there's a little typing error, I think, up there, but the Millennium Development Goals were 2015, and then they changed the name to the Sustainable Development Goals in 2015, and that's what they're currently called. So just remember, Sustainable Development Goals. So what are we talking about? We're talking about making the world a more stable and sustainable place. The picture of the polar bear just represents that ice is melting in Antarctica and the Arctic. This picture here just represents that forests deserts are getting drier and warmer, and forest fires are continuing to take off. And this photograph here represents how pollution is taking over the planet. And because we've so many people in the world versus the amount of resources, that we've got just so much piles of litter. In the Pacific Ocean, for example, there's litter the size of the country of Ireland in one part of the oceans that people are currently trying to clean up, but that's a massive undertaking. But that's not all. There's pollution all over the world, and it's killing rivers and wildlife and all sorts of biodiversity. So we have to do our own. Our action for CSB then will be to do our own bits on the 3 R's: reduce, reuse, recycle, and cycling to school. That'll help climate change because you're not using fossil fuels as much. And then we can also do things like use more renewable energies when we're older. For now, what we can do is turn off lights and red lights on things and use electricity, less electricity around the home, if possible. So transforming our world to 2030, the Agenda for Sustainable Development Goals. So there's 17 goals, 169 targets, and the deadline is to reach these goals by the end of 2030. So the goals are to address the most serious problems and challenges facing the world. The UN building, by the way, is in New York, just so you know that too. Okay, so here again are, and I gave you these in the previous presentation, so I'm not going to explain them again, but that's number 1, and that's all the way to 17 of the Sustainable Development Goals to help the world become a better place. Okay, so top government people, presidents, Taoiseach, and the most powerful people in the world. Al Gore, for example, on that documentary we're watching the week before Christmas on Inconvenient Truth Sequel, he would have been a big player in getting this up and running as well. Okay, so the 5 P's then. You've got people, planet, partnership, peace, and prosperity. So if you want sustainable development in the world, you got to bring people together, you got to help the planet, you have to build wealth in countries, you have to help, the place has to be peaceful, less wars, and as we know, there's wars going on in Syria and the Middle East, etc., and in Africa, different countries in Africa. Partnership approach, that we're working together and we're all in the same team in this together. Okay, can you find the 70? So this is the end of it now, I think. So you've got the 70, so try and remember that, that's important there. So can you find the 17 global goals? So if you go back, in other words, when you're doing this, it's like a little game. But what you want to do is go back into your Sustainable Development Goals. There's the 17. So can you see in the picture anything to do with poverty? Yeah, you can see people. that are living on the breadline there. Can you see, for example, good health and well-being? Or if you can't, then you can highlight and say, yes, this has the global goal reached, or if it doesn't have it reached, you can say it doesn't have it reached. What else we got there? Industry, innovation, and infrastructure. So is there like good roads, bridges, buildings, etc.? So let's have a look. Yeah, some looks quite fancy new, so you could mention some of that there. Life on land, life on water, climate action. I'm not going to go through each one, but yeah, you can see water there, and it's not a massive big trawler, it's just a small person fishing. So that's sustainable. Whereas if you had huge trawlers with the sonar systems they have now, that can be very damaging for fish life, and that connects with a lot within our oceans as well. So the numbers there signify the different goals, and what you have to try and do is look at the 17 goals and try and match them off based with those numbers. Is that fair enough? Hopefully it is. And if not, you can ask me more questions online about it. Okay, thanks for your attention.